Hello and welcome to the Merle and Locke podcast. I'm Merle.
And I'm Locke.
Set sail and low expectations for everything nerd, accompanied by healthy, albeit shameful, helping to pointless banter, lack of focus, and quest required knowledge.
And more.
And more. Today you have a topic for us, Locke. Why don't you tell us what that is?
I do. And I know we always say that it's a helpful dosage of a bunch of other topics, but I know we've been on a long stretch of other topics. But my topic is, why is it that we always want to assume the worst in people? They're just the most evil, or they have the worst intentions. It was brought to my attention when I keep hearing other people talking. They're like, that person, they're purposely doing this. They're evil. Even while I was at work, there's somebody who is talking about the company, and they're like, they're bad. They're doing this on purpose. I feel they are. And I was like, how do you know this? Do you have any information to back this up? Or are you just going off of a feeling? And you can never get an answer. What do you think? Why is it that it seems like a lot of people today feel that other people have bad intentions in the words they say or the actions they do?
Mostly in our culture, because I can't speak to many others, but has to do with greed. Trying to achieve your goals without considering other people and their well-being or their benefits. I think it's putting up your guard in a way to avoid the disappointment of being backstabbed or finding out these negative traits of other people. And so you assume the worst and hope for the best.
But do some people hope for the best? I feel like some people get so roped up in this idea that everyone is just out to get them.
A lot of people also speak to destiny manifest, right? If you always assume the worst in people, that's what you'll get. We as a people have become so pessimistic, thinking that only the worst things are going to happen to us. And so those are the only things that we pay any mind to and don't consider all the good things that have happened to us in the past. As far as perception, I feel like we more so focus on the negative, or it's more memorable because of how much it affects us. We've talked before about like going on trips or vacations or outings, and the most memorable of those excursions are the ones where seemingly everything went wrong. So all those negative things that have happened to us are the most memorable things. Like, yes, we reminisce about it fondly with good humor, but it was still something negative that had happened to us. And maybe we're miserable at the time, but we try our best to laugh about it in reference. As far as assuming the worst, I mean, I know we've had this happen to us specifically recently, not trying to dredge up the past. I mean, but I feel like it does bring up a good point. We had a conversation not too long ago in an episode about people making excuses for themselves. And oh boy, I had to make this defense on many occasions to a few of our friends. I admitted that, yes, it was pretty punchy. It was fast paced. We didn't cover every facet of the conversation. And we got into the conversation of ADHD. I'm not going to dwell on this too much. I promise.
Probably best.
But yeah. But we were talking about people making excuses for themselves. And as far as like not accomplishing things or expecting other people to navigate them and their condition. I wasn't necessarily shitting on all those people that suffer that condition. I'm just saying that some of the people that make up these excuses for laziness or at the expense of others, saying like, it's okay because I suffer this. You know, and I talked to a couple friends that actually suffer from ADHD, and they were very upset by what I had said. And I had to, even though I was put on the back foot, I didn't respond with any kind of anger or frustration. It was more so like, this is what I had meant. And I just encouraged to reconsider what I had said. There's a little bit of extrapolation on their part, of course, which is completely understandable. I completely understand the conclusions that they had come to, but I was like, no, that's not at all what I meant. This is what I meant. And we found understanding and common ground. I told them, like, I don't mean any ill will. of course.
Isn't it nice when you're able to sit down and have a conversation and be able to come to a conclusion together and an understanding?
And a podcast is not the place for that.
The thing is, you come into a conversation that's being had, and if you are assuming that somebody means the worst in what they say, especially somebody who might not know the person or persons in the conversation. I've come into too many points where people just want to jump in and attack whoever they feel is in the wrong. And I'm like, what are you doing?
The thing is about it is how disarming it was for both parties. They were disarmed that I would say something like that because, you know, as friends, and I was disarmed because I was like, you assumed that's what I meant? You know, we know each other. You know, that's not what I meant. But I understand the fact that all over social media, people suffering that condition, they are constantly attacked and they're naturally more defensive of that condition as a result. You want to protect yourself, you want to jump on it, you assume the worst because of so many other negative experiences. And so I feel like we're just conditioned to that way of thinking.
I mean, it could be that way where nobody has to be always on the defensive or always barricading themselves or their emotions from one another if we all wouldn't speak with such venom in our words. I know it's hard to watch tone with some people who might have a hard time. I know that there's people who also have a hard time with how they say things, their tone. I feel the best way is finding out who those people are and not singling them out. I would never say single out those individuals. We find out who that is and we all kind of help understand each individual. Now, that person might not be great at this, so why don't we try to do this to help balance each other out?
That's where I feel like most small communities thrive. We're able to better understand each other, better able to navigate one another because we know one another. Now, with things like the internet and podcasts and such, we talk without having the ability to navigate each and every person it reaches. We don't have that opportunity to approach them in a way where we can find understanding with that singular person.
Usually when you hear us on here, we like to just kind of bullshit and goof around and just say the most off-the-wall stuff to get a nice funny reaction out of each other mostly.
That's pretty much what it comes down to. It's not like we have necessarily a dark humor or anything, but we just take the piss.
See, I wanted to use a dark humor joke, but I refused. Anyway, go ahead.
So it's basically us trying to say something that'll get a rise out of one another. Well, not like get each other angry or upset, but catch each other off guard. And then we try to do a yes and, essentially. And we just kind of feed off one another. We're not qualified to speak on any one thing. It's our observations, our own conclusions.
You can take whatever conclusions you want out of this.
But as far as assuming the worst, now it's something that, you know, I myself am guilty of. The only thing I can speak to is how I've approached it in the past. It's turned into sort of a guilty until proven otherwise. So I'll naturally have my reservations about a particular person until I get to know them. But personally, I try not to be too accusatory.
That actually works better if that person is an extrovert. So they already show you at least some of their cards. And then you can kind of understand how they are. But an introvert, I feel like you and I try to pull them out of their shell.
Well, that's the thing, too, is when it comes to introverts and their refusal to, or introverts often have a fear of confrontation so that they won't approach these people that they have reservations about. So they'll obviously become cemented in that way of thinking about a particular person because they refuse to approach them and have that conversation or that confrontation. I don't know if they'll ever be able to find that peace with people that they refuse to approach And the longer you have these opinions of a particular person, the more steadfast you are in that opinion, unfortunately. And people don't want to have to defend themselves too. So if you have these opinions about a person or you express those opinions, people will naturally become offended. But are you worth their time to be able to defend themselves from those opinions that you have on them? I had friends with concerns about something I had said, and they're my friends, so they're worth my time because they're a part of my life and I value them as friends. So I'll approach them, even if they don't necessarily want to, or they don't want that confrontation. I'm like, no, we're going to sort this out because we're close enough to one another. And so we can find understanding with one another.
Right.
If it was a complete stranger that had those opinions about me,
You go,
I don't care. I'll probably never see you again. Why should I invest my time in defending myself to this person I don't even know? And earlier you were stating about businesses or people not thinking that the business in which they're employed has their best interests in heart. Completely understandable. Those business owners have a job to do. They have quotas to meet. They need to make sure that their business is successful. They don't have the time to consider each and every employee that they have to tell them what their intentions are, because it's not like you would understand that business model anyway. It's being presumptuous, of course.
The question that was being asked in that regard was, who do you think's doing it? And I was just like, it could be not just one person. It could be just a bad game of telephone where, it goes down the line and the person who fills out for the payroll or whatever, I said, that might be the last person in the line that's filling things out. And if they screw it up, they could have been at fault. It couldn't have been the person at the top or the person in the meeting before that. I was like, I cannot tell you. I wasn't there. But to say that somebody is purposely doing this.
You have to consider, too, the wishes of the guy on the top. He passes it down to the next guy, be like, this is what I want to achieve. That guy that is the specialist in that area, he says, okay, what do we need to do to accomplish this? We have to make some sacrifices here and there, pass it down the line. And then the next guy.
And I should note that we don't actually have any businesses degrees or anything like that. We're just going from a basic understanding of how a business operates.
We're just doing our best to be able to extrapolate information with effects.
Don't say anything about we're talking about businesses and you want to argue about how they operate. We can have that discussion later. You want us to talk about business and how they typically operate? Well, bring it up in the comments. We'll talk about it some other time.
I'm sure everyone has your best interests at heart, or perhaps everybody in business is nefarious and they're all out to get you. They're all out to get you. We're all screwed.
Don't scare them. You're going to scare them. I'd say best thing is go into it hoping for the best. Don't get your hopes up. You don't want to think about it too hard and leave yourself with all these expectations, but don't just count everybody else out and be like, no, they're all out to get me.
It seems we're right back to the expect the worst, hope for the best mentality. We didn't learn anything here.
Nope. No, I mean, so everyone should be treating one another as they would want to be treated.
Yeah, that's what Michael Jordan says.
Really?
I have no idea.
Oh.
People respect Michael Jordan, I think. So
okay. All right.
We'll just throw that out, say that as a direct quote from Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Treat others
sure,
with
that's
respect.
factual.
Yeah, probably. He probably said that at some point. Behind closed doors. In private conversation. We couldn't possibly know. Oh, God.
Okay. I think that's good.
Yeah. If you enjoy the Merle and Locke podcast, please consider becoming a patron by going to patreon.com/MerleandLocke or simply follow the link in the description. Thank you.